Hello YouTube, welcome to my channel. I am not a pro gamer. I want to put that disclaimer, pro coder. I'm not a pro coder. I want to put that disclaimer out right away. But I did find how to make a very simple um, flight simulation for VR for the Oculus. Possibly other controllers too. I don't know, but I do know for the Oculus Quest 2. So if you're here, you're probably, or yeah, you're probably in the same boat that I was in, and that boat is not knowing how to make a simple flight VR simulation thingy. I know I will forget, so I'm making this video kind of for me too. So that said, I'm going to break it down very small and try and get into all the details and kind of explain to you like you are a 4-year-old because that's how I need it to be explained. And yeah, so let's get into it. So first things first, uh, you're gonna need to set up the XR plugin and everything like that so you can play the game in VR. And you're gonna need a spaceship. If you don't know how to set up the XR origin and all that stuff, then go watch a YouTube video. There's a bunch of them out there. And yeah, so so you want to make your XR thing, make sure it's all good to go how you want it. Uh, don't worry about all these other codes. It's just for me testing stuff around. I don't think you really need a rigid body, but I have that in there because I was testing something else out. So you're going to need your XR origin and your input action manager if you want to use your hands, but we're not going to get into that. And you're going to need a spaceship. So once you have your spaceship where you want it and how you want it to look, go ahead drag in your your VR headset thingy and make it a child of the spaceship player. Why? Because well, we'll get into that later. Actually, I don't want to jump too far and confuse anybody. But so I'm using an asset package by Creepy Cat. I don't remember what it's called. 3D Sci-Fi Kit is what it's called. It's a really cool asset pack. It's usually like $80 at most, but most of the time it's actually $40. I think I got this for like 20 bucks one time. There's a big sale on the asset store thing, and yeah, it comes with a bunch of all this cool stuff. Like that comes in with it. Like everything you see here is from the asset pack. It's really cool. I highly recommend getting it if you like space stuff. You want to make a space game. They're really cool. They'll reply to you pretty fast. They are always updating it, and mostly everything that's in the pack is VR ready, if not everything. And yeah, so it makes it pretty easy for you. Now the presets they come in for PC, like like on mouse down and all that type of stuff. But if you know what you're doing, it's pretty easy to configure it to work with VR. And I'll show you some of the things that I have modified to make it work with VR, which you actually probably seen in the intro of this video. But yeah, so once you have your headset in the game where you want it in the spaceship, uh, you're gonna want to drag in this line of code right here. I actually have it on the spaceship, so you want the code on the spaceship, and that's this test flight controller script. That's what I've labeled it. You can label it ping pong ball if you want. I don't care. Just as long as you know what it is and know what it does and know where it should be. So, test flight controller. Let's get into that. Actually, I already have it pulled up. I don't need to reopen it. Don't worry about all this other code. That's just other stuff from our project. Okay. Nope. Okay, so you're going to want a serialized field or a public float, just as long as you can access it from the inspector. That way you don't have to keep going into the script and changing it if it's private. Uh, but yeah, so serialized float, you want a rotate speed, a turn speed, and a down and up speed. And then you're going to want a regular speed, like regular move forward. So let's start with the first thing, rotate speed. So we have transform.rotate. So let's look into that real quick. So transform. If you use world space, you're just gonna go forward. Like no matter where you turn, you're just gonna continue moving in that direction. You could turn and you'd still be going like that. That's not what you want. So you want to use the transform. What's the transform? The transform is of this game object. This is the transform that it's basing the movement off of, this thing, not the world, because the world axis could be X over here, obviously Y up here, or down here or whatever, and side to side for Z. And your X could be up or something like that. So you want to use this transform. That way you can fly forward relatively to the spaceship itself. So let's get back into the script. So you're going to use a new vector 3, which is just the X, Y, and Z coordinates. Uh, so we have -1 on the Z. So if you look at the spaceship, if we go forward, it's moving. Oh, sorry, we're not moving. We're actually rotating. So if we turn left, or right rather, you can see that the Z is moving. Only the Z. Nothing else is moving, just the Z. So we're telling it we want to do that. We're telling the code we want it to rotate based off of this transform at -1 because mine is inverted and I didn't feel like uninverting it, so I just put a -1. You could just uncheck the invert and change that to +1 if you wanted to, but I like to be complicated, so I'm not. And we're going to times that rotate. Like how fast do we want to rotate it? Well, we're going to times it by the rotate speed that we've set in the inspector. So rotate speed is at 50, so we're rotating it at times 50. And then you're going to want to get times the input of the get axis roll. And you might not see roll or up down in your inputs. If you know how to change that, then you already know what I did. If not, just stick around. I'll show you how to get roll and up down into your inputs. And then you're going to go times time dot delta time. You could just leave it just like this, but time dot delta time makes it smoother and makes your game or your movement a lot better. So you want to do time dot delta time, and that's it. That's all you need for rotate. Same thing for transform for the up and down. So again, it's not to get confused with the position. We're not moving. We're just rotating. Even if we're going up and down, that's still rotating. If you look, we're moving on the x-axis in the rotation uh, field. So let's go back to the code. What do I have? I have 1 in the x. Remember x, y, and z times the speed of the down and up speed times the input get axis up down. Again, we'll go over that here in a second. Times time dot delta time. And then you're going to want to do that again for the turn speed. Again, we're not moving yet. We're still turning, so it's still rotate. New vector 3 with a y. So if we go here and we want it to turn left and right, you see how the y is the only thing moving, right? So yeah. And now we want to move. So now we want to fly forward. So instead of rotate, we're translating. We're moving the object. So we're going to translate it forward or backwards in a new vector 3, 0, 0, -1. So x, y, and z. We go back into the game, and I think uh, my little asset or whatever was kind of backwards. So my z is actually like my x or something like that. We'll see. Yeah, my z is actually my x. I don't know why. I don't want to try and fix it because I'll mess it up and won't know how to get back. If you know how to get back, leave it. If you know how to fix it, leave it down in the comments below. I'd appreciate it. And yeah, so that's literally all you need. So let's go into the inputs real quick. Inputs. So you want to go to, I'll show you how to get there. You want to go to Edit, Project Settings. It'll pop up this window, but it's gonna pop it up like as an overlay of the project itself. I just dragged it into this field and put it there because I use it a lot, so it's easier to get to instead of going to edit and then wait for it to pop up, and it's just right there. So once you're there, if it's a drop down, or no, it's not in graphics. I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm sorry, I'm tired. It's early in the morning. But yeah, you want to go to Input Manager, and then you don't really have to worry about these. These are for the mouse inputs, if I'm not mistaken. So we want to worry about the joysticks. So you have horizontal and vertical at the top, and you have it again down here. So let's go down here. So you have horizontal 0, 0.19, 1, and it's off the joystick axis. See up there it's going to say Q or mouse button or mouse movement. We're going off the joystick axis. Okay. And then it's going to be x-axis. Okay, because again, the x-axis is flat, right? So we're going to go to vertical now, up and down. We're going off the y-axis. Y is up and down. So, boom. Okay, so we have y-axis. By default, it might say x-axis. It's going to be x-axis, x-axis. It might work. I don't know. I don't think it did for me whenever I found out. I think that's why I changed it to y-axis. So just to save yourself some headache and drama, just go ahead and flip that x to a y and you should be fine. And by default, in like a regular scene, it's going to say like 18. But once you input like all the XR stuff, it should bump it up to 30. Uh, you can take stuff away if you don't want it. But with that being said, I had a bunch of submits and a bunch of cancels, so I just came down here, left 2 submits, and on the third submit I changed it to roll, got rid of all this stuff. The positive button doesn't really matter because you're not going to be using it on the Quest handset thing. And then you're going to want to pretty much copy the horizontal. Horizontal first, then vertical next. So roll's technically horizontal. So instead of it saying horizontal, we said roll because we don't want to confuse the script and say horizontal up here or right here and then horizontal up there too. So let's just change the name. So the uh, the whatever the I forget what this stuff is called, but so mono development knows what you're talking about. So again, remember we're just copying it. So it's 0.191, 0.191. Again, I have it inverted. I could fix it now. I'm not going to. Again, I'm lazy. Okay, so I'm gonna leave an overlay on the screen on the axis for the Oculus hands for the controllers. So for your left controller, it's gonna be horizontal and vertical. So left or flat, like left to right is horizontal, up and down is vertical. So again on the right, left to right is horizontal, but we named it roll. So it's still horizontal, but we're just naming it roll. And then instead of it being the x-axis, it's going to be the fourth axis. I do not know why, but that's what it is. And make sure you have joystick axis, make sure you have fourth axis, and get motion from all joysticks, and then you're done with that. And then you're going to want to go down to, where is it at? Up, down. And same thing, you're just copying the vertical now. So we already copied the horizontal for the right stick or right controller. Now we want to copy the vertical for the right controller. So vertical 0.191, invert joystick axis, y-axis, get motion from all joysticks. So it's not called vertical anymore, it's called up, down, or whatever you want to label it. Just as long as you know what it is. 0.191, that's all correct. Invert, yep. Joystick axis, yep. And instead of third axis or fourth axis or whatever, you would think it'd be third and then fourth, but no, it's fourth and then fifth. I guess because of the scroll wheel. I don't know why. That shouldn't make sense because there's not a scroll option on the freaking controller. So yeah, but yeah, it's gonna be the fifth axis for vertical. And I've looked all over the internet. No one said that it was the fifth axis. It just was like, yeah, the right controller is just the fourth axis, and that's wrong. It's not just the fourth axis. It's the fourth and fifth. The fourth axis is for for horizontal movement. The fifth is for vertical movement on the right controller, and then get motion from all joysticks. And then once you have all that input, you drag your script onto the thing, and then yeah, it should work. And again, I'll leave a little video of me flying around and rolling and going up and down. And if you wanted to, uh, real quick, I'll explain why we made it a child of the thing. Because you could just drag a move script like this one right here, like a basic fly script, player speed, you want to label it however fast you want to go. Don't need to start, that's just there. So void update, you could put void fixed update like this, makes it kind of better. But void update if input get button fire 1, which is the A button on the right controller. Uh, Again, I'll leave inputs for the controllers like the basic inputs for like regular controllers for the Oculus because it converts over, so that's cool. I'll leave that on the screen so you can see and set up your inputs how you want. So transform.position equals transform.position plus the camera main transform forward. So the transform of the camera, the main camera, we want the forward transform of it. So you want it to go whatever it's facing, if it's the Y, if it's the X, if it's the Z, whatever the transform is looking at, that's going to be forward for that camera. And then you want to take the player speed, 10, 12, -1, whatever you have, and then times time dot delta time. And that right there excuse me. That right there is gonna make your cam or make like so you would want to set the spaceship as the child of the VR rig at that point, and that would make the spaceship stuck to the camera, and wherever you look like this, the ship is gonna rotate. So here, let me just go here. So you would rotate like this. You wouldn't be able to look around in the spaceship. Where if you looked around, the nose of your ship would go that way with you, and you'd be flying still. But that's not realistic. You want to be able to look around in the cockpit, look at your toes, and all that fun stuff. So we're gonna leave it as how we have it. Um, Also, there's a bunch of cool buttons in here that you're gonna want to press, and you can't do that if your freaking ship is falling around your eyes. It just makes it super complicated. You can't look down, you can't look side to side, you can't look behind you if someone's trying to chase you and shoot you and stuff like that. And you can't look at the cool scenic earth to your right, all that good stuff. So let's just have it how we have it. If you want to do that, that's fine, that's your game, but a lot of people probably don't want to do that, so that's why I'm making this video. So yeah, so if you don't want to move forward with the vertical, like if you don't want to push up all the time, which I don't, you can make a lever, and that's what this is here. I'm having an issue because there's an for with the interactable for grabbing in VR. By the way, if that's all you wanted, the video is essentially over. I'm just talking about other stuff that you could do with this now. So feel free to leave, drop a like, and drop a comment on what you'd like to see or what you're having troubles with, and I'll try and help you fix it. Uh, but yeah, so you want to have a lever that says, hey, if I pull it this far forward, then I want it to go forward at this speed. If I want to pull it this far back, then I want it to go backwards. Or I don't really like the backwards. In the video you see me going backwards and it doesn't look good. It's not a nice transition. It's just better just to turn around in space and go that way than to just fly backwards. But hey, it's your game. If you want to do that, you can. I personally don't like it too much, so I'm going to get rid of it. So what I'm going to do is right now this is back and this is forward. So I'm just going to change it to different hitboxes on saying, hey, if this is over here, then we want it to go at a low speed. If it's right here in the middle, then we want like obviously a middle speed. If it's all the way over here, then we want it to like haul butt into space. So I'll get into that in a later video once I have this grab interactable that I was about to explain fixed. Because like if you try and grab this, even though it's on a fixed joint, on a hinge joint and everything, it's still going to transform to your hand. You're going to be moving around, and the box colliders aren't going to collide because it's going to be all the way over here in freaking Timbuktu. So once I have that fixed, then I'll go ahead and make another video on how to do that. It's really easy. It's just make another script for it. But if you guys know the XR offset by Valum, if you know where that is, if you know the source code, I'm actually a Patreon member and I can't even get access to the source code, so I'm kind of mad that I spent 10 bucks for his Patreon and his Discord is like 2 years old. Like hardly anybody is in there commenting. Yeah. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions at all, just let me know in the comments down below. I'll try and help you fix it. I highly recommend getting this asset pack. If you like space, you want to make a space VR game, I'll leave it down. I'll leave the link to the asset pack down in the description below. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.